How's everybody doing? Today's video, as you can see, is going to be a little bit different. Instead of doing music related content, I'm going to try my hand at a different kind of art, which is cooking something. Anybody who knows me personally knows that my cooking skills are very small. Basically, I can, heat things up and put things together that already exist, which I guess is kind of, you can tell how nervous I am. I'm like tense. I guess it's kind of like what I'm doing here, except this is a little bit more in detail. What I'm going to try to do today is recreate my grandmother's zucchini fritters, which are one of my favorite things to eat, and I've never really seen anybody else make them. So this is my grandma on my mom's side, on the Italian side of the family. So hopefully I do some justice to this. It's my first attempt. I'd like to actually get this down to where I just know how to make these. So I called her and got the instructions and wrote them down. And I'm going to now try to follow what I have written down here and make these zucchini fritters. Fingers crossed. I mean, this is definitely the most ingredients I've ever used, so fingers crossed that it'll come out well. I'm literally using flour for the first time in my life, baking powder for the first time in my life. I'm sure I eat them all the time, but I have no concept of what flour or baking powder actually are. Spices that I've never used, minced onion, which I guess is just onion. And I had to buy a grater for this. Had to buy the flour, the baking powder, zucchinis obviously I wouldn't normally buy, and a baller to actually dole them out. So I'm going to do now my best to follow the instructions here and take you guys with me. So the first thing to do is to cut the ends off the zucchinis about an inch on each side. So that's easy enough. Okay. So I guess I don't need those. And then grate on the large side of the grater the zucchinis into a bowl. You're going to realize that I have never grated anything before. This is my first time using a grater, but I think this is how you do it. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to hold this thing. I mean, it has a handle, but I guess this is the way to do it. Also, apologies, I'm just getting over pretty gross head cold. So if I'm clearing my throat or sniffing a little bit, that's why, but I am recovered. This is kind of nerve-wracking getting to the end here. I'm pretty sure I can cut my fingers on this thing. Alright, that's as close as I'm going to do. There's another one. So this looks about right as far as the size of the zucchini pieces goes. So I think this is the correct part of the grater, the way that my grandma does it. Still kind of not sure how you're supposed to hold a grater, but it is what it is. and down to the end there. I'm just giving up with a couple little pieces there. Alright, so I've got a bowl full of shredded zucchini. That's where I'm at. The next step is to add all the other ingredients into the bowl. So my grandma says this is easy to make, which her standard of easy and mine are pretty different, but essentially we need a teaspoon of salt, also, I have never used my measuring spoons, even though I've had them for years, so this is a first. So a teaspoon of salt. And I'm pretty sure that she can just eyeball this when she makes it, but this is the best way that she explained it to me. So this needs 2 eggs. Okay, I don't think I got any shells in there. That's good. Doing pretty good there. Get the eggs out of here. Wash my hands with the eggs. A tablespoon of dry minced onion, which is this stuff. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Yep, that smells like onion. So it needs a tablespoon of that. It's going to take a long time to get a tablespoon of this stuff. I'm going to take that lid back off. I should probably not do that right over the bowl. Alright, so that's about a tablespoon of dry minced onion. Got that. Okay. Half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Oh wow. I'm just realizing why there's a side on the Parmesan cheese that doesn't have holes. You can really pour a lot out on this thing. So half a cup. Okay, that's about half a cup. That's like a lot of cheese, wow. Okay. 3/4 of a cup of flour, which I still don't really know what flour is, but I guess I'll find out. Looks like a sugar bag. Fun fact, I have not even used an entire bag of sugar in my entire life. Wow. This stuff is really powdery. Okay, so 3/4 of a cup of flour. It's right there. Also, I have not eaten yet today, so I probably won't have any of these left over, which I usually don't at my grandma's house anyway. But they do keep really well for leftovers, so. Put the flour in. And then the last ingredient is a teaspoon of baking powder. Which, as the name would imply, is a powder. Not really sure what it does, but I only need a teaspoon, which is this one. I'm gonna fill that not over the bowl again. Yeah, I can just scoop that. Okay. Interesting. I need to mix that all up somehow. And she said it's supposed to come out basically like a pancake batter, but I have never made pancake batter, so I'm guessing as to what that consistency will be. You would think this would be pretty dry, but the zucchini itself is pretty wet, apparently. So the moisture for this seems to really mostly be coming from the zucchini and just a little bit of lubricity from the eggs. There is some, I guess, flour around the base of the bowl that I'm trying to get mixed in. So that I get it all there. Because if it doesn't mix in, it's gonna affect the proportions. So far, I guess I've been at this for about 15 minutes, which for reading the recipe and trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing and opening ingredients is not bad. So I can see why she would say this is easy. Oh yeah, I'm forgetting there's so much Parmesan cheese in here already. Man, this thing, just this, I don't even know what you call it, batter? Is this considered a batter? It looks pretty good. I mean, you could almost eat this with a spoon, it looks like, but obviously not because it's got raw eggs and, well, I guess you could probably eat a raw egg. I just don't know if you can eat flour and baking powder. But there's that. Now to actually cook it, you need to use olive oil on a low setting. So she said like 5 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm just gonna eyeball this and put it on number 2. And then it'll cook for 3 to 5 minutes aside. But she also said to do one as a test first to see that it's cooked through, because it's supposed to look sort of golden brown on the outside. But you want to use a low heat, obviously, so that you don't just like sear it on the outside and then you can't tell that it's raw in the middle. But I think that's the gist of it. So we'll see how these come out here in a second. Honestly, it's not that hard of a recipe as far as eventually memorizing it. I'll probably have to follow it the first few times that I make these, but now that I have been living in my house rather than in my apartment, for one thing, I've been trying to cook more at home just because it saves money. For another thing, my house is a little bit farther out from a whole lot of restaurants, so it saves time. And I have a nicer kitchen to use, so I'm pretty well equipped to be making things. But like I said before, most of what I ever cook is like steaks, brats. Making a steak is like the easiest thing in the world. I'll do like pasta sometimes with pre-made sauces, or I'll doctor them up a little bit, add a little bit more olive oil or a little bit more butter, or sometimes bacon fat and ground beef, and I'll make like pasta like that sometimes, throw in like a little bit of vegetables here and there, but mostly, or I'll do the same thing with rice, do sort of like a rice and soy sauce and beef type dish. But that's easy. I mean, that's not like, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence that I'm a good cook, because anybody could do that. That's just basically heating things up. So I'm actually pretty happy with the consistency of how this batter came out. And this is not that hard to make. A lot of the time my grandma makes these, well, she makes them sometimes for lunch and sometimes as like a side with dinner, but they end up being so savory. And you'd think like, I'm not a really big fruits and vegetable person to begin with. You would think that something that is based on zucchinis I would pass on, but actually, well, now that I've seen how much Parmesan cheese is in it, it makes sense why it's so savory, but it's really good. Like, I could eat these, and I'm about to eat these for an entire meal alone with no other protein, with no meat. And typically, I would really notice, and I would be craving something savory, craving a protein or a meat with every meal. But with these, I guess they're probably meant to be a side, but I'm just going to devour them, and they're very good. And the other thing is, when they're done, put a little bit more salt on them and a little bit more Parmesan cheese on the top where you can see it, and they're so good. I'm not really sure how to tell where I'm at with this olive oil. It looks pretty wet. So I'm gonna guess that it's warm. And it smells like warm olive oil. So here's where I need to put in the test one. Oh wow. Well, I put a little dab on the side. Wonder if I can get that to join. Okay. Obviously, it's tall, but I'm guessing it's gonna, like, when the heat gets into it, it's gonna get smaller or lower, flatter, I guess is the term. It's got enough oil, so it's cooking slow. That's what I want. and 3 minutes a side. So this is my test one. So let's say at 1:16, I'll flip it. So I think I've got like about another minute or so on this side. You can tell on the bottom that it's browning up, which is what you want. It's a slow, sort of low heat. This stove can get very, very hot if you're not careful. That's why I'm doing it on just setting 2 out of 10. Trying to get these things out of the way where I'm not gonna block the camera. Okay, so that's 1:16. I think this is a little large for how they're normally made, but it is the test one, so I'll probably give this another minute each side. You can hear it kind of like simmering. I guess that it's sitting in oil, it won't burn. So give it like one more minute like that, and then I'll flip it. And I'll probably do 4 minutes on the other side because it's a big one. Oh man. Obviously, I don't really have a good skill with flipping things, as you can tell. Okay. That looks pretty good. I mean, it's huge. This is fatter than they normally are. So, I almost want to like put more hot oil on it. I guess I need a spoon for that. Okay. Oh. Yeah, this is too big. This test one is enormous. Or it's too thick. I guess I assumed that it would squish down more just naturally, but it turns out you probably have to press them down. I can tell visually that the middle is still raw because it's so big. So let's see, probably in another 2 minutes, it might be okay to test this one. maybe. So really I think I'll probably need a minute on this side and then flip it back another minute on each side and see how it goes. Because I can see that this is still raw in the middle. This is basically twice the thickness that it's supposed to be, so this is going to take a little bit extra time. The next one, or the next whatever ones that I put in, are going to be smaller. She said basically to make each one about the size of a scoop of ice cream, and at first visually I thought it needs a little bit more than that, but for how slowly this one's cooking, I think it needs the next ones need to be a little bit smaller. Yeah, I'm going to flip this back a little bit on each side. Maybe another minute on the other side and then flip it back. I'll probably need the fan on. It's going to be noisy. So that was another minute on that side. God, well, it's so obvious to me now that this is twice as big as it needs to be. This looks like an ice cream sandwich. So the next ones are going to be much smaller than this. I mean, I'm sure that the middle of it can be not toasty looking, but I'm not sure that it would be cooked through yet. Okay, there you go. Yeah, that edge is getting cooked. But yeah, this is way too big. Way, way, way too thick. I guess I probably need a dish to put them on. I'll put one separate for the test mule. Officially cooked these a long time, or this one I guess, so we'll see. I can't cook that any longer in good faith, even though it's way too thick. In fact, Oh yeah, looks cooked, but it's hot as shit. Should not have touched it. Okay, so that it actually did get cooked. All right, let's do some smaller ones. Like that's a good one. That's way too big again. There you go. That's the right size. And that's why, see, if it was only that thick, it wouldn't be so difficult for it to melt down and not be so damn tall. Okay, see, this makes a lot more sense. That's the correct size right there. Okay, 26. I'll do, at 129, I'll flip them. This big one, I'm gonna need to, well, that was a lot of salt. Okay, maybe I won't add any extra salt on top. Maybe I'll just add Parmesan on top. That's kind of how it goes. So here is my test one, served with Parmesan on top. While I'm waiting for the other ones to cook, this is still going to be really, really hot, I have a feeling. Yeah, it's steaming like crazy. It did just cook through, even though I made it way too thick. But that's a really, really fat zucchini fritter right there. That was my first test. Let me see if it tastes kind of like how it's supposed to. Yeah, that's about right. A little bit too much salt on top of it. I should have just put cheese on the top, but I won't do that for the rest of them. Okay, so these, basically I'm doing 4 at a time. And I'm going to do 3 minutes aside on these correctly sized ones. Sorry, I have to cut the camera in order to change the perspective. Okay, that's been 3 minutes aside. Now let me flip these. One, 2, 3, 4. So then at, let's see, at 1, I'm tempted to just like bathe these with the oil. I don't know why. I don't know if that's necessary, but whenever I flip them, the tops look less oily. Okay, so at 1:33, I will be done with these 4. Yeah, those ones are coming out pretty good. They're like a little tall, but I guess I can figure out how to make them flatten down a little bit more the more I do them. There's another bite of my test one.
Again, that test one's real salty, but that's just my fault for putting salt on top. Could be worse. You don't really have to move these around very much. They don't stick to the pan like I would expect them to. Got 1 more minute on these. It's going to be my actual plate. Should be good. That. 2, 3, 4. Do another round. I wonder if I'm going to need to do 3 rounds. Or I wonder if I can fit more than 4 in this pan. I wonder if I can do 5. That's a little one. 3, 4. I probably should have done maybe 2 pans of 5. I'll end up with a big one here. And that's pretty much it. I'll try to flatten them down a little bit. So these ones won't be so damn tall. And that's that. Pretty much used all the batter there. Okay, so at 1:37, I'll flip these. Maybe 3 minutes. Gotta finish my test one here. I mean, even the test one, pretty delicious. Yeah, I can definitely see how a really good cook like my grandma would say that this is an easy recipe to make. And I can see how I would probably memorize it after making it 4 or 5 times. And I'm definitely going to make these on occasion for sure. Probably when I have company, because I think it's a very unusual thing that people are not used to having. And then they're like, huh? A zucchini fritter? What is that? You know, fritter, you think like an apple fritter, it's gonna be sweet or whatever. But these things are so savory and so cheesy and just greasy and awesome that they'll blow the mind of house guests. Oh, man. Try to flip those a little bit less violently. And then at 140, these 5 will be done. And then I will be completely done making them. How about that? I'm actually decently happy with my ability to follow a recipe. This definitely has the most ingredients out of anything I've ever cooked, which is not saying a lot, but I'm very grateful for my grandma for always making these and telling me how to make them. I don't know if I'll end up actually posting this video, but if I do, it'll be really just posting it for her, as long as she doesn't, you know, want to keep the recipe a secret or something. But pretty impressed. It's been a good afternoon, and I don't think I'll have any of these left over because I haven't eaten yet today, so 1 more minute on these. I think I might have put a little bit much oil in the pan, but you know, they haven't even come close to sticking to the pan at all, so maybe not, who knows. I only say that because on the last round of these that I just made, it kind of splashed when I flipped them. But I don't know. It's about the right amount, I think. And that is it. Oh, you can tell I don't even use my fan that much because I don't cook that much. The only time I use the fan is if I'm cooking bacon. Okay, so
Oh yeah. Wow. I gotta say, the smell in here is so good that my hunger is just going crazy. Since I haven't really eaten yet except for that one fritter that I just had, the test one. Let me just put some Parmesan cheese on there. Oh yeah. Look at that. That is so good. If you guys like this video, don't forget to share it and subscribe. Turn on notifications. I will see you guys next time. Thanks again to my grandma for giving me this recipe. And I will definitely make this when I have guests, and it's gonna blow them away. So, hope you guys like this video. See you next time.